This is the Product Analytics PM UX Weekly for September 20th, 2013. Looking at the agenda, we have a couple of things. One of our agenda items, I don't think I'm skipping over. Look back at last week's action items. I don't think we had anything. It looks like there was create an overarching issue to document the current state of design and decisions that we've made. Rob, you were assigned to that one. How's that coming along?
Yeah,
Anything we can do to help?
part of that work was around sort of figuring out where we are currently, which is what me and Jan did this morning in regards to the visualization designer and discussing the dashboard designer. So now we've done that, I will be creating that issue to start documenting what's made us get to this point so far in terms of what designs we have and how we got there, and documenting future designs issues as well.
We'll pick up that discussion in the next or a later agenda item. I wanted to touch on, I had shared in a video walking through the opportunity solution tree last week, some of the data from our willingness to pay survey and the pain points that we had laid out. So we'd identified pain points based on the previous research that had been done, conversations that we've had with customers, and knew that they aligned to things that were already built or things on the roadmap. But try to structure it in a way that here is a pain point that you might have. We asked customers to give points basically to those items to invest in them, or you would buy this for a product analytics solution. And if you give something 10 points, it's twice as important as something you would give 5 points to, or 20 points because it's 4 times as important. Kind of give them that scale to work off of. So I shared those findings in a video, added the pain points, the top 5 anyway, to our opportunity solution tree, and we can start working on those opportunities. The nice part is it aligned very well with what we're already building. So I was happy to see that we prioritized correctly with what the market feels. But wanted to check in with the team. Is there another way that I can share that data? Is there more ways that we want to talk about this? I don't think having it in one video and one opportunity solution tree is the best way to go. So wanted to open it up to what are other modes of communication so that we can share this data.
Was there a tracking issue for that research?
It was part of the willingness to pay survey. There was a UX research issue associated with it. I can roll up the pain point part of that into that issue before I close it.
Okay, yeah, and if you could just share the link with me too, I'll add it to my list of things to take a look at. I haven't watched the video yet, so
okay,
we'll watch
it's
that.
pretty quick. It should be 5 or 6 minutes is all.
Okay.
I'll share the link to the UX research issue and add the 2, 3, 6. All right. Wanted to see if there were any questions about upcoming implementation. I think the only thing with a UX label associated with it that is scheduled is blocked, but it has a weight on it and an implementation plan. I think we've previously discussed this in this call and in the issue itself. That's the checkbox, which is our MVC to filter out users who are anonymous so that you only truly have unique users who are identified by a cookie in your data, or include all users. We know that the trade-off there for users is you're going to see a couple of users who have a ton of event data or page view data, but we explain that with the tooltip and some other things. So I think we're good there, unless Rob or Jan, you have any questions?
No, the block is because of we're waiting for backend to make this happen. From a front-end point of view, it's a very straightforward process to add the toggle once we have that backend implementation. It's also worth noting that in the implementation plan itself, we've added a tracking event so we can monitor how often this feature is used, and get an idea of the impact that it's having with our users.
Fantastic.
I just have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Where would we be adding the toggle? I was looking at the issue, but it's not immediately clear to me where Like on what page
If
we're
you
adding it?
if you look in the design section, um, you'll see that I've done a quick mock-up of where it would roughly sit. I'm happy to discuss if we'd prefer to put it in a different location, of course.
Cool, got it. Oh, looks good to me.
I'm just adding a placement label in the issue description so that it's in a couple of places where this is going. I want to say on the audience and behavior dashboards to start, do we want to include this in custom dashboards as well, or just by default on all dashboards?
It's data related rather than like users visualizations related. So I would say easily just go in all product analytics related dashboards, unless Jan disagrees.
Yeah, we'll have to be smart. Well, initially we can be dumb, and what I'm thinking of is we have the value analytics dashboard, or the value stream dashboard. So we just need to be sure that this is part of all the filters that we exclude on that dashboard. I believe it should be easy to do for a start, but in the future, we'll probably want to be smarter about it in terms of like dynamically adding this filter based on the type of visualizations that a user has added to their dashboard.
Yeah. Okay, good to think about. So I added a note, put it on all of the product analytics dashboards built in and custom, and just make sure it's not on the value stream dashboard. Cool, excellent refinement. I'm going to skip over the upcoming design issues. I think the majority of what is already scheduled is the usage quota stuff that I know the team took a hard look at. That's coming up in 16.6. So I'm going to reserve time for us to talk through the visualization designer, dashboard designer conversation today because it's fresh, and we'll pick up this issue list next week if that works for everyone. All right. All right. I'm going to open it up to our front end folks then. Talk to me about MVC for visualization designer. I haven't had a chance to read through the comment in the issue that I saw right before I jumped onto this call, but I'm guessing that I'll get a bunch of context from y'all.
Yeah, I created this agenda item, but Rob, since you wrote the comment and made the designs, I wonder if you want to walk us through that. Also, I'll be happy to. If you feel a bit tired, I'm happy to walk us through it.
I'm definitely tired, and this took me far longer than it should have today. So I apologize to everyone for the shortness of me submitting it before this meeting. But yeah, I'm happy to sort of talk through the general aims. Um, so this morning, me and Jan, we sat down to discuss where the dashboard designer and visualization designer were at. We felt like the dashboard designer was in a good enough place that we could release it from its feature flag. Obviously, we still have the more brighter product analytics feature flags. So we're still limiting in this current phase to very specific user customers. But this would then allow us to open up the dashboard designer to all of those internal and external customers that have opted into this process. In terms of the visualization design, it's not had as much love over the last few months. It's not been as high as a priority, so we wanted to figure out, without too much polish, where could we get to in a reasonable amount of time that would allow us to start getting that user feedback, because realistically that's where where we really want to be heading from a direction point and targeting those pain points for users. So we sort of came up with a multi-stage plan that extends beyond the release of the flag. So the first stage is more or less just the biggest pain point really with the visualization designer right now, beyond the sort of UX issues that are more broader and need more UX designer input once we hire someone. Is that when you go on a visualization designer as someone who's never used a product before, it doesn't explain to you what it is or how it works, or how do you get the visualization that you're creating somewhere else. How do you use it essentially? So our first pain point, and really the only blocker that we see to just getting this out as a sort of rough-edged MVC, is to add a little bit of a title to the page and some help text, which Lorena will need. Obviously, we'll need input from Lorena on clarifying what that might be to explain what it is you're doing. As well as updating our documentation to provide a much more detailed step-by-step guide on how to add visualizations, which right now is very much bare bones, just create your own YAML file and read the YAML docs. So ideally, that's where we'd like to be because right now it's functional, if not optimal. So for us, that'd be where the main step that we'd like to prioritize. After that, we can remove the flag, start that process of getting user feedback, start directing where the pain points are within Visualization Designer, what people are wanting to use it for, and where that might end up, as well as a more general UI tweaking around, aligning it slightly more with the designer, moving the CTA to the bottom, and generally bringing the step process of creating a measure, selecting a visualization type and seeing what it's going to look like before you save, from what is currently a 1-3-2 process where you look at the left, look at the right, look at the middle, to a look at the left, look at the left, look at, go through in the more, without using a stepper, just making it more obvious. It's quite clear that if you just click a measure and you see your visualization, like your data, you just press save, and then you get told off for not selecting visualization type. Unless you click that visualization tab or click save, you don't know that that's a requirement. So this is just very small little tweaks just to make it a bit more obvious and a bit more blunt. But this is not a requirement to release. So as I say, it's functionally working. It's just not great. So we can do this in tandem. It's not going to releasing these UI tweaks won't cause any breaking changes for the user. It will just improve their experience. So I'm just going to stop there to see if anyone has any comments or questions before I discuss sort of what would happen after the release.
I think generally the stage 1, stage 2 sounds good. I think the biggest gap that we have is that our MVP is barely viable. With the change from Jitsi to Snowplow, we lost all of that structured event data, like click events, where that's a big part of the UI today. Really, all we're giving the users is the ability to change time frame on existing graphs. I mean, in essence, that's all they can really do, and then put them into an order that they really want. So I'd love to see, before we release it and turn it on, flip the feature flag, work with backend and figure out how do we get structure back and at least get click events, so that you can filter by click events, group by click event. And that's the feedback that we're already getting from, oh my goodness, I'm blanking on names, but from our friends in developer experience is, hey, I want to send events and query on those, and they're abusing page views today and trying to jam data into page views because then you can see the data that they want. Otherwise, it's just unstructured events that are being sent back. And so being able to see at least all of the events, and then we can work on, now I want to filter events, I want to query for specific events. What other directions that might take us would be then a later step as we really, really iterate on this and maybe tear it all down to the studs and build it back up with a new designer. But for me, that would be, before we flip the feature flag, what I'd want to see. Otherwise, you get I want to see all the click events group by click event, and it's all just unstructured data. Like, that just seems more like a broken experience and not a valuable experience to me. I know that's not a front end task. I've left my front end guys in stunned silence.
No, y'all go ahead. I just have a question after this topic.
I guess what I'm trying to understand is in regards to your comment specific, James. I'm just sharing my screen just to show the visualization designer as it is. When you click page views, are you saying that in this around here you want, instead as well as pages, you want click events or some other kind of group?
Change your measure. So eliminate page views, get rid of that.
Right.
I want
click
to
events.
click events, all click events, and then start to see the click events so that I get zero data. So in projects where I know I have click event data flowing through, it shows up as unstructured data, which if I have more than one click event, I have now zero idea of what is happening and where it's happening, because we don't allow, like, we're not sending that data along, or it's not queryable out of ClickHouse. So it's not it was working before with Jitsi. What I'm trying to say is let's get back to that, because we know we need to on the back end anyway. Let's get to that point. Let's release it. I like the UX tweaks. Those are awesome. That's a great usability improvement for the users. I think and I glossed over that. You guys did a great job of iterating on the existing design that'll get this into a much better place until we have a UX designer in-house and we can really rethink this experience, and really rethink the entire opportunity of, hey, I don't want to learn another query language. Let me just get my data, because we're going to approach it kind of from that really high level. I think this is one possible solution for it. So putting this out there and getting feedback from users is going to be great. I don't think we're going to get the granularity of feedback or the level of feedback that we want without letting them see the events that they're instrumenting. So I think we can go through stage one, even most of stage two, and the improvements. I would stop at stage three from front end changes, kind of skip to stage four, where once we allow users to save the visualization, let them add it to dashboards and have, instead of a massive list that is no rhyme or reason, give them a ordered kind of structure of things of, here are things you've made, here are things that are built in, here are things that are value stream analytics. And as we add more visualizations to the mix of custom dashboards, like, let's make a sane UI there. But I think the real next step and value that we add with Visualization Designer is, let's get structure around the events that you're sending.
Okay.
And I say that based on the what we heard from users, what we heard from Lee of, I'm overusing page views, and what we heard or got out of the willingness to pay data of, hey, I don't want to learn another query language, but I want to see which of that data I have.
Okay, that makes complete sense. So almost a stage zero, add click events, as it were. It can be done in tandem with stage one, but add click events. Make sure click events are actually working properly, which will require, obviously, working with instrumentation to make sure we're getting that data in the right places and then rendering that from the front end. Okay, I can update the comment accordingly. And then in regards to, as you said, stage three and stage four, you'd prefer if they were swapped around to provide that connection.
I think we want to give a new designer really an opportunity to explore the solution space and give us all an opportunity to explore the space before we put too many other tweaks in. I think it makes sense to, like, the big usability gaps that we have in Visualization Designer today, where it yells at you because you didn't complete a step you didn't know about. Let's fix those. Like, let's make this a lot easier for users to use in its current state, but let's not overinvest there. Let's get it to a point where we know users can easily save a visualization so they can add it to a dashboard, because that's going to give us the level of feedback we want about the experience. I think that's what we should be shooting for, is let's get a visualization that we can get feedback and learn from.
Okay. I appreciate the feedback. Very good feedback. Thank you.
I appreciate Jackie, all the work and the conversation y'all had this morning on this. Looking forward to reading into this more in depth. I skimmed over it, so I probably didn't give it enough time. Thanks, y'all.
That's all right.
Jackie, you had a comment before I went off on a diatribe.
Yeah, I just had one. No, it was perfect. Just one question about in the Epic, is there like feature or design issue where the original, like the story of how the designs got to be?
No. So this whole visualization designer was part of the proof of concept that just got transitioned in, which is why it's behind the flag, which is not other than just proving that it can work. And starting, I think you James and Kevin, you started having some interview conversations around the visualization designer with users as well. So we have got some user feedback. But
so I'm just trying to get a picture of how it came to be. So it sounds like there was maybe like a technical spike, and did you all just come up with the design just in code?
Well, not all. It was a single person led implementation initially, which is fine. Yeah, it was way years ago. So
Oh, okay, so it was from some time prior, and then now it's been built behind a feature flag, and it's just waiting for some more love, right?
yeah, very much so.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, Jackie, our hypothesis is that if we put it out with some improvement, we're going to get a better level of feedback, like I said, from users who can build visualizations, use our SDKs more broadly. Because if they're just getting page view data and rough user data counts, it's not as valuable as if you can start to instrument events and really see like a user selected this and then they did this. If I can start to see that event data flowing through, there's a lot more value for our platform teams that are our first ideal user and their product folks to
Mhm.
see what's really happening in their applications. Like it's great if I can see how many users I have, but I really want to see if they're getting value. And a lot of that relies on send an event that something was accomplished and let me count those. So that's why
Yeah.
I'm pushing for let's get to that point because we're going to get better data and then let's tear the thing apart and put it back together in a better UX experience because we know we're using the proof of concept to get to that today.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's like hard to get feedback from users on a complex workflow if the data is not realistic or useful to them anyway.
Yeah.
So that makes complete sense. I just wasn't sure if there was something I should go back and look at to see how we got to here, but it sounds like it hasn't had any UX input up till now, which is fine.
There are, I believe, there are some, at least I think in Figma, Kevin had some sort of prototyping, sort of mocking up, figuring things out, designs in there as well, which may explain some more of his what he was thinking long term too.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking at some Figma files yesterday. I don't think I saw something that was about the visualization designer though. I saw dashboard builder.
And we had a version of the dashboard designer that included visualization designer that we ripped out because we didn't want to spend a ton of time there and get to a point where you could build a custom dashboard that is basically rearranging the panels as a first step. And
Mm-hmm.
then bring in, hey, here's now designs that are visualizations rather that you've created. Because we think that there's a great path forward on the custom dashboards with other visualizations from within GitLab that we don't want to wait on as either. So that was the why we prioritize things in that order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Awesome. Cool. We're at the end of the agenda. We've got some good next steps here. I will share the research design or the UX issue back or the research issue back. I'll take a deeper dive and keep iterating on the comment with you and Rob, you and Jan. And I think that's all the action items. Anything else we want to follow up on or make sure we get covered in the next week?
No, just I really appreciate everyone's input. It's been extremely useful. Thank you.
All right. Well, I look forward to talking usage quota next week then and following up on this discussion.
Yeah.
Yay. All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a great day.
Bye.
Cheers.